In our own four walls, we can relax and put our feet up and forget the worries of everyday life. Many people dream of one day owning a large villa with a huge plot of land. Others, however, take rather unusual paths when it comes to choosing a house and then live like no one else in the world. What at first glance seems both strange and unconventional turns out to be a unique home on closer inspection. In today's video, you can find out which houses impressively show us the diversity of living. Before we get started, be sure to hit the like button and ring the notification bell for more great videos. School bus. It's unlikely that the children of the Batterton family will ever miss the bus to school. After all, they already live in one. But what actually made this family of 7 abandon conventional living and turn a school bus into a home on 4 wheels? Since the Battertons were already often on road trips anyway, this conclusion was actually quite obvious. At least that's what family man Jeff says. Since the children are being taught at home anyway, nothing stood in the way of realizing the plans. The family had previously lived in a 400-square-foot home in Texas, but the street's call was just too enticing. Working with a group that specializes in converting buses into tiny houses, the Battertons planned their new home. 6 months and $35,000 later, the mobile home was ready for use. The impressions of the many trips that the family of 7 has taken since then are regularly shared on Instagram. Homes like this are becoming increasingly popular as many people are looking to break out of their mundane day-to-day lives and start something fresh. Many of us don't make homes like this because they lack the square footage that we'd need to entertain ourselves regularly. But you have to keep in mind that homes like this are not built for entertainment. They're built for traveling so that you can experience a world like you've never seen before. While many of us may go home and watch Netflix at night or play video games, this family has now made it possible to travel all around the country while maintaining their day-to-day lives. When they're ready to call it quits at the end of the day, they now have the opportunity to stay inside or camp in one of the many luxurious campsites that can be found all across the country. It may not be a lifestyle for everyone, but it works very well for this family. Airplane. American Joe Axline loves 2 things: freedom and airplanes. In the 1970s, Joe watched the TV show The Magician, in which the titular character lived on an airplane and solved crimes. And since then, he too has harbored the wish to one day be at home in such a machine. Since it's well known that 2 is better than 1, Joe bought not just 1, but 2 disused aircraft. The owner equipped the interior of the McDonnell Douglas MD-80 with a master bedroom, 2 further sleeping areas, a living room, and a kitchen. Despite this redesign, many of the aircraft's original details have been retained, such as the cockpit, some overhead bins, and crew call buttons. In turn, Joe turned the second plane, a Douglas DC-9, into something like a genuine leisure paradise. In addition to a private cinema room, there's also space for a handicraft room. Although the 2 planes no longer have wings, they embody the epitome of unlimited freedom for Joe. A home such as this would not be typical for most people. However, for Joe, it's the chance of a lifetime. Most of us would scoff at the idea of living inside of an airplane. After all, many of us wouldn't like the idea of getting into an airplane at all, much less living in one. But Joe is truly living his best life and also living up to the dreams that he had since he was a child. While living in such a strange machine may have seemed impossible at first, you can truly make a home in just about anything. After all, home is what you make it. Eco House. What at first glance looks like a prototype lunar base is actually the home of the Norwegian family Hjarte Folgers. The 6 family members have been living in a so-called cob house for several years, which is surrounded by a gigantic glass dome. The primary purpose of this solar geodesic dome is to shield the home from the extreme weather conditions of the Arctic Circle. Located on the secluded island of Santornoya, the family can regularly enjoy breathtaking northern lights viewing from the comfort of the living room couch. Inside the dome, which is made of organic materials, there's a microclimate of its own which enables the Yartafulgers to grow their own fruit and vegetables. The service water is reused for watering the plants, and all leftover food is professionally composted. While many of us would hate to live in a school bus or an airplane, I think many of us can agree that the house is quite unique and downright captivating. Just imagine being able to fall asleep under the stars every night, then wake up and grow your own food inside your own house. It may seem a bit odd at first, but this home is the very definition of being self-sustained. No matter what happens in the outside world, the family will always have a way to overcome adversities simply by living in their own home. No matter what difficulties may face people like you and I, the Yartafulgers have truly figured it out and no longer have to rely on the outside world. Subterranean house. Jeff Wachowski and Rebecca Weitzel call an unusual home their own, an underground house in Omaha, Nebraska. While the thermometer outside falls to freezing cold -degrees during the winter, the inside of the house always reaches values of at least 13 degrees Celsius. However, there was still a long way to go before the house was finished. It took 10 years in total to complete the construction. For this purpose, a total of 3 steel-reinforced concrete domes were placed underground. The only opening is a south-facing glass wall. Embedded in the ground, the house has a kind of natural thermal insulation. But this is not the only advantage that comes with this unusual location. The noise from the street doesn't penetrate into the living areas. A home like this is a no-brainer in a cold state like Nebraska. While many other people feel as though they're freezing in the winter, this family never has any issues. This home is built to last as well, as it isn't as susceptible to natural disasters as many other homes. It may seem a bit strange or unusual at first, but it truly is a wonderful idea that seems to be paying off nicely for this family. If only every home in a cold state or cold country could be built this way, maybe so many people wouldn't continue to flock to the south during the winter months. Hole in the mountain. When a 35-year-old Chinese man got fed up with life in the city, he decided to move to the great outdoors. Instead of buying a cozy house in the countryside, however, he made a far more unusual decision. He poked a hole in the side of a mountain and single-handedly converted it into a beautiful apartment. The man, known as Mr. Tiger, is known for his new mountain abode with plumbing, solar panels, and windows. In turn, he shared the progress of the construction work on social networks and received an overwhelming response from the impressed users. When you really think about it, this young man could be considered a genius. To put this into perspective, when you think about natural disasters or terrible turns of events that may tear down a typical home, this man never has to worry about this. These mountains have been in the same location and have remained virtually unaltered for millions of years. I don't know about you, but I can't think of a single home that has stood the test of time for millions of years. Well, it may have been quite expensive and very difficult to create a home on the side of a mountain. This man's home will likely survive long after many of ours have been demolished or deteriorated to the point of no return. Triangle House. Greek architect Tilimachos Andrianopoulos was looking for ways to perfectly blend his new home into the natural landscape. The tapered design of the building thus blends in perfectly with the surrounding olive trees and mountains without restricting nature. While the exterior design is extremely simple, the interior has also been designed in a minimalist way. There's no trace of unnecessary frills here. The fact that the house in Athens is in absolute harmony with nature becomes clear to us when we take a look at its roof. Because the roof of the house is actually covered with many plants, the regular gaps in the surrounding wall ensure that the interior is flooded with sufficient daylight. While this home may seem extremely unusual, it's actually following a trend that has been running strong for a few decades now. Creating a home that seamlessly disappears into nature is a great way to lower our carbon footprint and help out the environment around us. Many large businesses have begun to do the same thing as they begin begin to plant bushes, trees, or other plants on top of their roofs in order to lower heating and cooling costs, or simply to help out with the natural landscape. This is likely a trend that we will continue to see growth in the coming years and decades. Bill Gates' house. This next home is quite interesting as it's currently owned by Bill Gates, founder and creator of Microsoft. Bill Gates is known for being the 5th richest man in the world and built his home for himself in 1998. Construction took over 7 years, with the lot alone costing him $14 million. He named the home Xanadu 2.0, and it's designed in a modern rustic fashion with technology lacing every possible area of the home. The house is estimated to be worth $125 million. The house is approximately 66,000 square feet and has been described as a smart complex due to the sheer amount of technology that's available to its occupants. It was built into the side of a hill that overlooks Lake Washington. The technology in this home is so advanced that Gates has designed a series of pins that are to be worn by occupants or guests that will adjust the home's temperature and lighting to your personal preference without you having to move a muscle. The home will automatically detect your pin as you approach and have the home heated or cooled for you immediately. Several HD monitors are placed around the property, made to mimic artwork being hung on the walls. This artwork will even change to the artwork of your preference as you approach. There's a 6,300 square foot underground garage, a 3,900 square foot pool room, a 2,500 square foot gym, and even a 2,100 square foot library. There are countless other areas of the home that are simply too numerous to mention, but it stands to reason that this home is one of the most futuristic in the world, if not the most futuristic home to ever be built. Treehouse. A few boards here, a rope ladder there, and the treehouse is done. Well, the construction of the chateau in Treehouse Utopia should not have been that easy. What is still a simple hut in a treetop for the average consumer is a genuine luxury resort in Dizzy Heights in Texas. Spread over 2 floors, visitors will find a living room, a dining area, a spacious bathroom, and a winding turret leading to a luxurious bedroom. If you're in the mood for fresh tree air, you can simply go to the almost 40 square meter terrace. Of course, the interior was also designed in a matching wood look. The furnishings, trimmed to look old, nestle perfectly in the rustic design. Yet another design that some of us may not enjoy. This family is living their best life. While many of us may be afraid of heights, or afraid of trees for that matter, this family has taken things to a new level, literally. No, the home may not be the most structurally sound or resistant to tornadoes or wind, but it is certainly a sight to behold. Just imagine being able to live your daily life up in the treetops with all of the birds and the natural wildlife. This is a life that many of us can only dream of, but for this family, it is everyday life. The tea house. Before we get it wrong, in the following tea house, brewed hot drinks are not primarily served. The name rather alludes to the unusual shape of the building. Viewed from the outside, the massive concrete building in Athens is reminiscent of an oversized megalith. The view behind the facade, on the other hand, is much more inviting. The narrower ground floor was designed in such a way that the interior and exterior areas can be connected via sliding glass doors. With the exception of the kitchen, the remaining rooms are located in the upper part of the tea piece. There's enough space for a family of 4. Interesting to know, there are just 3 doors in the entire house. I know it may seem impractical at first, but this home actually makes very efficient use of space and helps a family of 4 to live in a somewhat large home while only taking up a small footprint on the ground. It was Elon Musk who said, "When we run out of space on the ground, we must look to the sky or some other place in order to continue living on this planet." It seems that this family took those words quite literally. Skinny house. If you've always wanted to live on a slim budget, you should take a closer look at the Skinny House in Toronto. With its slim design, the unusual building clearly stands out from the panorama of ordinary residential buildings. However, we shouldn't be fooled by the squat design of this place to stay. All in all, the Skinny House offers almost 160 square meters of living space. Currently, however, the 3 floors are divided into 3 individual residential units, but the provider assures that this thin house can easily be converted into a connected single-family home. However, this slim extravagance comes at a price. Anyone who's considering buying the building will have to fork out at least $2 million. Homes like this don't pop up too often. While the price tag may be far more than any of us could realistically afford, for the homeowner, I'm sure he's making a great deal of money off of the rent payments of his many tenants. While it may be nice to live in a home like this all by yourself, it would be pretty unfeasible for people like you and I. But who knows? In the future, the building may be renovated to accommodate a single family, and that family will truly be living the time of their lives. Fairfield Home. Fairfield is the name given to a 63-acre property with an oceanfront view located in the Hamptons. The home is valued at a whopping $248.5 million. Currently owned by billionaire investor Ira Rennert, the building was created in 1999. However, construction stalled until 2004 when Ira was working through a great deal of controversy and pushback from nearby neighbors. These issues are said to have arisen because neighbors were concerned that a 110,000-square-foot mansion would negatively affect the value of their homes. It's unclear exactly why they believe this, but the neighbors filed a lawsuit with the town of Southampton sometime in 1998. The suit was dismissed 6 years later, and Fairfield was allowed to continue with its construction. The home contains 29 bedrooms, 39 bathrooms, a home theater, a basketball court, a bowling alley, a church, 3 swimming pools, and a power plant. The home doesn't appear to have been listed for sale, but this is certainly one of the most expensive homes available in the area. The Floating Seahorse. It should be clear to all of us that the imposing buildings of Dubai differ significantly from most other residential buildings on the globe. However, the concept of floating seahorses takes luxury living to the extreme, or rather, under the water's surface. In fact, these are underwater villas that exist in different versions. The smaller luxury houseboat has an area of around 288 square meters and is available from $2.8 million. The larger variant is almost 90 square meters larger and accommodates an additional bedroom. As previously mentioned, the lower level of the floating seahorses is below the surface of the water, revealing coral gardens and the surrounding marine life. Here's the bedroom and the bathroom. The ground floor, or the deck, which is at the water level, impresses with large living and dining areas. The final floor, the so-called sky deck, invites you to relax with its whirlpool and in-house bar. Many of us can only dream of living in Dubai, and homes like this are exactly the reason why. Dubai may not be the place for everyone, but the country does one thing extremely well: luxury. Homes like this are not seen every day, but for people in Dubai, this is somewhat of an everyday occurrence. While most people may never be able to afford a home like this, it's truly remarkable to see that someone turned their dreams into a reality and made a building like this possible. Shoe House. It's a known fact that many people dream of living big. A look at the home of New Zealanders Steve and Judy shows what happens when you take the saying a little too seriously, because the two actually live in an oversized boot. What began as a harmless idea over a few glasses of wine eventually culminated in a construction project that was as unconventional as it was unique. Apart from the shape, the place to stay has nothing in common with an old boot. The house has a living room with an open fireplace, a kitchen, a modern bathroom, and a beautiful bedroom with a balcony. And a little farther down the road, we find the next extraordinary home that goes by the name of Wiggly Wog. The eco-friendly house has a design reminiscent of a classic Hobbit cave, and it only costs $1,000. Alright folks, and now it's your turn. What do you think of the unusual houses we presented to you today? Could you imagine living in such a building yourself? As always, let us know your thoughts, suggestions, and feedback on our video in the comments below. Also, while you're at it, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to stay up to date from now on. Finally, feel free to take a look at the other videos on our channel, which you can access by clicking on one of the pictures in the credits. And with that, thanks for watching, take care, and see you next time.